Oh yes, the sign is lit. And you know what that means. It's time for me to do the thing that I love doing most of all, which is venture deep into the altcoin forest and find for you guys a gem that I think has true potential. So today I'm going to be walking you through some clear-cut evidence that we're on the brink of a serious altcoin movement. Not that you guys needed to be told that, because literally if you're holding any of the coins I've been talking about for the last 2 months, you're probably sitting on some pretty insane gains. However, today I'm going to present to you another coin that I find to be pretty exciting here in the world of DeFi. If you guys are excited, turn that little thumb blue, destroy that like button. And remember, as always, that each and every comment on this video is entered to win your very own hardware wallet. We'll be giving it away this week. As well, if you guys want the up-to-date information covering the most undervalued and interesting coins in the entire space, if you want the gains like the 32Xs that we had with Parsec, covering it before literally anyone else in the industry, and we're going to continue with this trend, digging up the gems and presenting them to you for free before anyone else does in this entire industry, then all you have to do is subscribe and put that bell notification on. For old subscribers, I encourage you to turn the bell off, resubscribe, and turn the bell back on, as I've been hearing from a lot of people that their bell notification doesn't always work. That's right, even YouTube doesn't want you to get the gems. With that said, of course, always beware of scammers in the comments pretending to be me. It's not me. I'll never ask you to contact me or send me funds. And let's dive in. What we're looking at here is a historical chart of Bitcoin dominance. And as you can see, from about, August all the way through the beginning or the end of December, beginning of January, we had an almost unabated diminishing of Bitcoin dominance, where essentially Bitcoin just grew and grew and grew compared to the altcoins. But what we're seeing right now, and what I predicted strongly over the past several weeks, is that as Bitcoin does this, it's preparing to slingshot the alts in a major way. I mean, there's just so many big innovations happening in crypto land. And the last time we got a big bull run, we saw this happen to Bitcoin dominance, where Bitcoin dominance literally fell from the 90s all the way down to the low 30s in dominance. And we're seeing it start here on this run at about, the 60 level. So seeing it fall over the course of this bull run down here to the 20s or the 30s, that would not surprise me at all, even if Bitcoin continues to grow and blossom. And if we look, these two red candles are very similar to what we saw at the beginning of this wild alt season that really started at the beginning of 2020, but took flight in the middle of 2020. As you can see, when Bitcoin dominance really jumps down, it gives the altcoins a chance to thrive. We've been talking about DeFi Mania 2.0 with the sushis and the unis and the compounds and the Aves and the synthetics and the chain links, and all of them moving in unison upwards and breaking new highs. And it feels like the engine is getting all revved up. So today we're going to be talking about a new coin that I've been studying for a while now that has a chance to add something new and interesting to the DeFi landscape. It's also worth noting that we just got a new SEC appointment. It's not official yet, but Gary Gensler might be taking control of the SEC, and he actually taught classes on blockchain and crypto at MIT, which is super, super exciting, and it shows that this person understands the potential of these assets. That's a very, very high quality potential nomination, and it shows that this organization is trying to grow with the times and form logical legislation, or at least we hope that that's the case. I read this as some bullish news. But today we're going to be talking about a DeFi protocol trying to solve the issue of bonds. Now, bonds is a $100 trillion market. It's one of the biggest money markets in the world. Essentially, what a bond does is it pays you a fixed income rate. And that allows for you to put money away and get paid back at a certain predetermined interest rate over a long period of time. The bond market is one of the biggest and most liquid in the world. And in fact, depending on the estimation, it's worth as much, if not more, than the global fiat currency markets. So this is a huge, huge area for disruption for decentralized finance to be attacking. Now, there exists something in crypto called a DeFi primitive. A DeFi primitive is what you want your DeFi project to be. You can think of DeFi as a bunch of Legos that fit together and create new self-driving financial mechanisms. Now, of course, one of the biggest and most powerful DeFi tools is Compound, where people essentially have money markets where they're constantly lending out or borrowing USDC, Ethereum, wrapped Bitcoin, DAI, Tether, all these different markets. And as you can see, there are these supply APY APYs and there are these borrow APYs. Now, the thing about this is they change literally all the time, and it's based on an algorithm. So depending on the makeup of this pool is what's going to determine the actual borrowing and lending rate. And that can change within an instant on you on a site like Compound, which makes it interesting, but also makes it a little bit tricky to essentially set it and forget it and do what most people do, which is what the bond market does, which is ensure a fixed rate yield. We still don't really have a big application for fixed rate yield here in crypto land, at least in DeFi, decentralized finance. And you can see here there's websites like DeFi Rate that are dedicated constantly to tracking the fluctuations of lending rates here in crypto, which change all the time. And so it's become kind of like a culture to actually track and kind of jump around to find the best yield. But a lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people just want to set their coins into a fixed rate of yield. But in DeFi, it's actually a little trickier to pull off than it sounds. And that's why today we're going to be talking about a protocol called 88MPH, which is all about earning fixed rate interest on your crypto. Now, I have been following this project for a while. An influencer that I follow closely named Real El Capo Lucadot Capi, I just call him Lucky or Capo. He's actually been pushing this one for a long time. And I mentioned it several months ago at about $50. But it took me a while to fully wrap my head around that this actually has a chance to become what's called a DeFi primitive. A DeFi primitive is kind of the holy grail here for DeFi, where you essentially have a base building block that other DeFi Legos can plug in on top of. For example, with Compound, you have this borrowing and lending market that you have YFI plugging into, essentially jumping around and making it so people can automatically jump to the highest interest rate yield. And so you have a base layer that other people are taking advantage of. And 88MPH is potentially going to be the base layer here for fixed rate interest on your crypto. And they actually have a really interesting setup here where they have a cash flow positive ecosystem that distributes real cash flow to the holders of 88MPH. Well, say you deposit 100 DAI or 100 US dollar coins. DAI is a stable coin for those of you who don't know it. Your 100 DAI is transferred to 88MPH. 88MPH then deposits the 100 DAI into a yield generation protocol with variable rate APY, which generates yield for 1 year period of the deposit. Once the 1 year period is over, you withdraw 110 DAI from 88MPH. At first glance, this may seem extremely problematic. To begin with, how is it different than simply juggling your own money around? Secondly, if the yield generating protocol failed to generate 10 DAI of yield from the 100 DAI given in its 1 year, you can't guarantee that you can withdraw the 110 DAI from 88MPH. So if you guys are following here, you're saying that if you deposit it, you get a guaranteed 10% interest rate and you can for sure claim it at the end. But people are wondering, well, how do you know for sure that it can be claimed? This is the difficulty with fixed rate interest, which is based on present tense supply and demand, which you can always determine with an algorithm. These objections are resolved through pooling the deposits together. Pooling deposits means putting the deposited DAI into a single pool from which users can withdraw a deposit once its deposit is over. So pooling helps with two things. It's about risk balancing and overlapping deposit periods. As you can see here for DAI, you're regularly seeing rates of 15%. For USDC, you're seeing rates of 14%, 15%. And so having something that is above the actual promised interest rate of 10% or at that level is actually something that is achievable across the majority or the average of a larger time scale. So what they're saying here is that if you were promised 10% and they're getting 15% on average, then there's actually a spread there where the protocol is actually making an excess of what they promised you through them juggling the money around. And that excess is then used as a reserve treasury in case there are loans that actually don't end up meeting the guaranteed fixed rate income promise. So there's potentially an issue here that if the floating rate APY drops very low, like on sites like Compound or Aave, and there's not able to generate enough interest to pay for the fixed rate debt that was promised, then there's potentially a site-wide insolvency issue. So how do they solve this? Now, their solution is to offer something called a floating rate bond, which buying floating rate bonds allows someone to immediately fill up the debt of one or more deposits using their own money. And so at its core level here, floating rate bonds allows for risk to be reduced, that they will not be enough fixed rate income to fulfill essentially the debts of the platform. And it also allows a new sort of financial product here where users who buy the floating rate bonds are essentially longing the interest rate, which means that if they buy the bond and the floating rate interest rate APY goes up, then they actually gain more. And so this is an interesting way to actually play with and speculate on the future of the interest rates, which again, if you guys are new to DeFi, this can be a lot of information, but just understand all the fluctuations happening in these markets have direct impact impacts that are essentially impacting the ability to cover these fixed rate bonds, and they could fluctuate down or up, which would essentially either contract or expand the ability for this platform to pay its debts. Bring up the idea here of a structured product. And they're saying the first line of products here on 88MPH are going to allow another protocol to build structured products on top of their first layer, guaranteeing the capital or a significant portion of such at maturity. We could imagine a mechanism that gives rise to this structure by the combination of a fixed income instrument and the use of derivatives, in this case, in particular, an option like with Hedgic. And it just so happens that we have the Hedgic developer who's been absolutely smashing it of late. Some people don't like this person's personality. This is the anonymous developer, Molly Wintermute, that essentially was tweeting about how amazing, I'm not going to read it because I don't want to get demonetized here on YouTube. They were tweeting about how amazing it is that 88MPH is distributing so much revenue to its stakers, who this person earned $3.6 thousand in this week. And that was paid out not in MPH, but in DAI stablecoins. So they were earning real US dollar coins for staking MPH because the protocol actually has cash flow. And you can see that when a protocol has cash flow, it's being actually utilized. And the more it's utilized, the more cash flow it has, and the more that this can be distributed to early holders. So it's a very interesting model they have set up here. And you can see here that there's quite a bit of interplay between the 88MPH team here and the Hedgic team, talking about if this team, who's Board Genius and Guillaume Pallier, sorry if I butchered your guys' names, guys, if they want to build something in collab, Hedgic 88MPH, then why not? The very first idea that comes to my mind is premium fixed options. And so you can see here there's actually a dialogue here between the Hedgic ecosystem and 88MPH about using 88MPH as a base layer here. And so this fixed rate interest bond mechanism is starting to gain some interesting attention. And you can see here they have about $8.2 million in TVL, which to be honest is not that much for DeFi. But I'm wondering if this starts to catch on and starts to become a more core component here, if this won't start to skyrocket, especially with DeFi Mania 2.0, and if people are really able to start wrapping their heads around what the MPH token is. And essentially the MPH token, again, entitles you to yield from the cash flow. So staking it, you can actually earn not just more MPH, but actually US dollar coins from cash flow on the platform. So there you have it, a new DeFi altcoin gem that I believe has a chance, not a guarantee, but a chance to become a core player, a core fundamental building block here in crypto land. The tech is interesting, and it provides a much needed fixed rate option in a world of volatile and fluctuating interest rates. That might be good for some people who like to be extremely active, but for others, having a fixed rate, long-term, reliable interest rate in a decentralized financial world is certainly exciting. And that's what MPH is trying to do, trying to solve the $100 trillion question of how DeFi can truly disrupt the bond market. Not that I really think that that's possible, that any project will reach $100 trillion. I'm just saying that that's the total addressable market. And there is the moon math, of course. So of course, with 88MPH sitting at just $27 million market cap, there's still a ton of room for this to grow, especially if we end up coming into DeFi Mania 2.0, which I do believe is coming, whether it's coming this month, next month, or soon after. I do believe that DeFi Mania 2.0 will arrive, and that DeFi is the predominating narrative of this bull run. And the innovative DeFi protocols that offer new and exciting Legos or building blocks, things that can be used to create even more exciting financial instruments, those are the ones that are going to be the beneficiaries of some huge adoption and gains. So there you have it. 88MPH has the potential to become a new DeFi primitive or base level building block for the DeFi industry. And if you guys are excited about that, give me a thumbs up. And of course, remember, each and every comment on this video is entered to win your very own hardware wallet. If you guys enjoyed learning about this and you want to stay on the cutting edge of altcoins here as we approach another exciting round of DeFi Mania, then make sure that you subscribe and put that bell notification on, set to all, because I'm going to be giving you the newest and hottest and most exciting undervalued altcoin picks in the entire industry. And those of you following the channel know that we've been on an absolute tear lately with so many calls doing X's I can't keep track. There is no channel that gives you this much alpha for free. So if you want to be a part of the #1 altcoin community in the world, then all you have to do is subscribe and put that bell notification on. With that said, my name's Elio Trades. If you want to follow me on Telegram or Twitter, the links for both of those are in the description. As usual, I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.